And now is the time for previously scheduled business. The first motion that we will deal with is the censure motion. Yes, we're going to give time for folks to get to the microphone. All right, is there a motion at 1A? 1A, could you state your name and church and state and motion, please?
Yes, my name is Tyler Pierce. I'm a messenger of the First Baptist Church of Crawfordville, Florida, and I would like to move to amend the motion to read after the original motion to say, the messengers, however, commend Bart Barber for publicly repenting and taking responsibility for his mistake and approving the amicus brief. And if I get a second, I'd like to speak to that.
Okay, I heard a second. All right, urgent request on 3A. Do you have an urgent request for us?
Hi, Ben Mandrell from Lifeway. I woke up early this morning and prayed about what I could say because
Dr. Mandrell, could you hold for just a second, Dr. Mandrell, please? Just 1 second. Dr. Mandrell, we're going to have to come back to you. It's not your speaking is not in order quite yet. We've got an amendment on the floor, and so we have to deal with that one first.
But we will come back.
Yes, but we will come back to you. Thank you.
1A.
All right. Back to 1A.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are a group of pastors and laymen who have come together in order to make sure that we take the gospel to all corners of the earth, get some free swag, and speak gospel truth into cultural issues. This convention has previously, as stated by the original presenter, spoken through resolutions and actions, even suspending the rules to make sure that all information concerning the allegation of sexual abuse being withheld or possibly being held by one of our entities would be brought to light. At the forefront of this debate was none other than Bart Barber. When given the task of composing the ARITF, Bart appointed people who had abuse survivors at the forefront of their minds. Bart consistently has shown through his appointments, television interviews, and Twitter comments that his desire is for sex abuse survivors to be treated well. Bart made a mistake. On October 30th, 2023, Bart publicly repented and explained what happened that caused the error of his judgment. Ironically, Bart was facing heat due to the appointments to the ARITF that many took issue with due to their desire for justice that aligned with Bart's own desires. A lesser man would blame the lawyers, stress, and a myriad of other situations. But Bart Barber is not a lesser man. He took responsibility and publicly asked for forgiveness. Let us forgive Bart Barber, as Paul told the Ephesians, that we would be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. We as brothers and sisters have been forgiven so much that we have an obligation to extend forgiveness to others, even when perhaps we don't want to. Forgiveness is foreign in our culture. Let it not be absent from our convention of churches as well. If we do, then we truly have allowed our culture to influence us over biblical truth. Let us show the gospel truth of forgiveness into a world that only knows about wanting their pound of flesh. Thank you so much.
Recognize 8A again.
Okay. Thank you. I believe we have at 8A, we have a statement against this amendment. 8A? Just the amendment, correct?
It should be against the motion. The board didn't get cleared.
We'll have to get rid of the amendment first. Would you like to call the question on the amendment?
Call the question on the amendment. West Church, pastor and messenger from First Baptist Church, Columbia, South Carolina.
Is there a second? I hear a second. All in favor of calling the question, would you raise your ballots? On just the amendment. Just the amendment. Calling the question on just the amendment. Thank you. You can lower your ballots. All those opposed to closing debate, would you raise your ballots?
All right.
Okay.
So,
Okay, now we're on to the actual amendment. All in favor of that amendment, would you raise your ballots? Would you lower your ballots, please? All those opposed to the question, would you raise your ballot? Okay, looks like the ayes have it, and we...
Per bylaw 12, now we're going to go to Dr. Mandrell.
Okay, per bylaw 12, now we're going to go to Dr. Mandrell, if you're at the microphone still. Dr. Mandrell.
I am. And I would just like to say 3 fears I have about the approach that is being taken. Number 1, at Lifeway we say that culture is created by the positive behaviors we celebrate and the negative behaviors we tolerate. I first want to say that the gentleman who made the motion, I have been at the Lifeway Village for 3 days. He has never come to speak to me. I worry about a convention where people can come to microphones and not be asked, have you made an attempt to have a conversation with the person to whom is being accused? Second, I worry about my future as the leader of Lifeway, where I have more than 46 bosses. My current board of trustees is made of 46 people to which I communicate regularly, I build trust and relationships with. They are appointed by you. You trust them because they're good and godly people. When I meet with them and we make decisions that are complex, we talk through these things. We pray about them. We lose sleep about them. We often can't share the full context of what is being discussed. So if I'm on the censure, I would move that you expand it to include me and all 46 trustees that work together to make these decisions. My third, and most important, is I have a daughter at home right now studying for the LSAT. I'm concerned about a future where Christian lawyers are viewed suspiciously as if they didn't go to law school and have expert opinions in which they can help their institutions move forward without unnecessary litigation. Our lawyers are really good and godly people, and if you got to know them, you would understand they are not trying to cover any evil. They're trying to keep Lifeway free and clear of any litigation to which it should not be involved. We are for the survivor community. We produce materials to help churches better prepare for sexual abuse. We train all of our camp staff on how to be most prepared to see and spot evidence. So the caricature that is drawn of my legal team hurts our reputation, and more than that, it hurts their name as lawyers. And I'm concerned about incredible Christian lawyers that are stepping off of boards because they do not feel like they can express their convictions, best help their institutions. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Mandrell. 9A has an urgent request. Could you speak to that, please?
Yes. My name is Albert Moeller, president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary and member and messenger from Third Avenue Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dr. Moeller, can I ask you to pause for just a second? I want to make sure everybody understands we're recognizing Dr. Moeller because of Article 12. So he has the right to speak to this because he was one of the ones named. So Dr. Moeller, please, thank you.
Thank you. We are in uncharted territory here, and brothers and sisters, I hesitate to think what the Southern Baptist Convention is going to look like if this is what we're going to do, meeting by meeting. I am here with Keith Daniel, who is the chairman of the Board of Trustees, and also with Josh Powell, immediate past chairman of the Board of Trustees. The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary has nothing to hide, and I'm trying to think about how we can serve Southern Baptists best in this very moment. I think one thing you need to know is that presidents of your institutions are not the lawyers for your institutions, and that's for good reason. We have lawyers as general counsel hired by the Board of Trustees. They make legal decisions. The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, in serving Southern Baptists, has avoided scandal by following the advice of auditors, accountants, and attorneys and not violating that advice. We have the responsibility to act righteously and to act in ways that are consistent with the Southern Baptist Convention. We too stand for the cause of defending the defenseless, and we believe the best way to do that is through the proper application of the rule of law. Our Board of Trustees hires the attorneys. The attorneys, on behalf of the institution, plot and they undertake legal strategy. They represent us. You do not want the presidents of your institutions flouting the advice of the general counsel that your boards of trustees hire. That's what you want us to do. Otherwise, chaos will ensue. We have nothing to hide. We have acted righteously in this situation. In the case at hand here, the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Kentucky said that the issue had not only been wrongly decided, but was unconstitutional. We believe that justice and righteousness will come by the proper application of the rule of law. And so I just want to tell you that I'm pleased to answer as president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, 2 board chairmen behind me. This is our plea. Hold your institutions accountable, but to following the very rules we are given. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have an urgent request at 3A. Could you state your name, your church, and your state, please? A point of order, yes.
Point of order, Juan Sanchez, messenger from High Point Baptist Church in Austin, Texas. I have a question for the committee. According to Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, members can be censured for offenses elsewhere than in a meeting only after a fair disciplinary process that includes confidential investigation of the alleged offense by a committee. Number 2, report of resolutions either exonerating the accused or preferring specific charges. Number 3, formal notification of the accused. Number 4, a formal hearing or trial on the validity of the charges. Number 5, a review of the trial committee's findings by the convention or a committee authorized by the convention. All disciplinary procedures must take place in executive session, which is impossible to do on the floor of the SBC annual meeting. I believe this motion should have been ruled out of order.
Amen.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to ask our parliamentarian to respond to this.
Unfortunately, as much as the desire to rule such a motion out of order, there is a footnote to that particular thing that says that motions to censure can also be made without going through the disciplinary procedures. I'm willing to go find the footnote real quick if you'd like me to, but there is a footnote there that says motions to censure can be done without going through the formal disciplinary procedure. So I would love to know, I would love to have been able to do that, but it's outside the purview of what we could do.
Okay, give me just a second here, please.
So 3A's, so then we go to 3A for a motion.
Okay.
Is that, or was that the same motion?
3A, is there a motion that you're making, 3A?
We would like the footnote to be found.
If you'll stand at ease, that's going to happen right now. Just give us a moment, please.
All right. For all of you that have your Roberts with you, footnote on the bottom of page 61, chapter 61, right below 61.3. It says, it is also possible to adopt a motion of censure without formal disciplinary procedures.
Okay, so we go next to. Is there an urgent request on 9?
Yes, sir. Correct me if I'm wrong, but should the parliamentarian be making known publicly his view on a motion either for or against?
No, I did not. I did not understand him to be doing that.
He said that he would like to have ruled it out of order.
So to be clear, I said as much as I would like to rule such motions out of order, which means I'm just saying I don't generally like motions to censure. I am not weighing in on this particular issue.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification.
3A.
Okay.
10. 3A for a point of order.
3A for a point of order. 3A. Do you have a point of order?
Yes. The footnote said it is possible, but it is not necessary. I've asked the committee to reconsider the motion out of order. So what's next?
So Bart ruled that it was in order yesterday.
Can the body vote to rule the motion out of order? I am appealing the ruling of the chair.
You understand I'm the first vice president. By the way I'm dressed, I did not intend to be standing here today.
That would be good. This is going to be complicated. We'll help them.
Okay. The parliamentarian says we're going to help you. I just need him to help me right now.
The appeal's not timely, so we would need a motion first to suspend the rules.
The appeal is not timely since the chair yesterday ruled it to be in order. This body can make a decision to change that, but this body has to decide. So the motion that we're going to entertain right now is to suspend the rules for and allow the appeal. Does everyone understand that? This is just whether or not the appeal can be heard. Do you understand? All those in favor of allowing the appeal, would you raise your ballots, please? Lower your ballots. All those opposed to allow the appeal, would you raise your ballots, please? Okay, the appeal is allowed. So here's your question. Is the motion to censure in order? If you are in favor of the... I'm sorry, folks. Yeah.
So
I'm going. Hello. I'm going to ask the parliamentarian to explain this to us.
So, what you're about to be voting on is on reversing the decision of the chair yesterday or not. So, if you vote aye, you're sustaining the decision of the chair or confirming the decision of the chair yesterday that this motion was in order. If you vote no, you're overturning the decision of the chair from yesterday, which would make this motion not in order. Anybody have any questions before we go? All right.
We have a point of order at 9. Would you please identify yourself?
Lewis Cook, messenger, Oak City Baptist Church, Oak City, North Carolina. Ben Mandrell and Albert Mueller have already addressed this. I would like the opportunity to address this because I don't believe the majority of messengers know about the amicus brief. That's why I seek to address it.
That is actually not a point of order. We are in the midst of voting on an appeal, and so we have to deal with that appeal. 9B for a point of order. 9B.
No.
Oh. 9C?
No.
Oh. 3A. Point of order?
Just a question for clarification. What percentage is required?
Request for information, but we'll answer.
Okay. It is a simple majority.
Thank you.
1A.
My name's Karen Wellborn, Stanford Baptist Church, Stamford, Connecticut. I would like to ask if amendments can be spoken by sentence described before we vote rather than referred to by number. The last vote we had was just mentioned as amendment with a number, and there was no description, and we were confused by that point as to exactly what we were voting for. For clarification, please.
We appreciate that, and we will do that. That's not pertinent to what's on the table right now, but thank you for that, and we will do our best to do that. If the motion is in order, in your opinion, you vote yes. If the motion is in order, you vote yes. If the motion is out of order, you vote no. Does everyone understand that? The motion for censure. The motion for censure from yesterday. If it is in order, vote yes. If you would like to overrule the rule of the chair yesterday, you will vote no. All those in favor, would you lift your ballots? That it's in order. Okay, put your ballots down. If you are overruling the rule of the chair yesterday, would you lift your ballots? All right, that's very clear, and that motion is now out of order. I now would really, really like to turn the chair back over to Dr. Barber.
Okay. Before I recognize the chair, I want to say this. To become more visible is for all of your flaws to become more visible. And I do not believe that I have led you perfectly. But I've tried, and I'm trying to do my very best to serve you. It's not necessary. Chair recognizes Hayden Ratner from the Committee on Order of Business for motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we would love to move to extend this time by 10 minutes. On the order of business.
Motion comes from a committee, and so the motion is that we extend the time by 10 minutes. As many as are in favor, would you indicate by lifting your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed, would you indicate by lifting your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. Those in favor have it, and the time is extended. Okay. Stand at ease for just a moment, please. We have results on last night's presidential ballot for the runoff. The chair recognizes the mayor, Don Currens.
Okay. Don't do that. Okay. 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 At the time of the last ballot, there was 10,908 people had registered. Actual voting, we had 8,537 for the presidential first runoff. David Allen received 2,577 votes, as you see on the screen, which was 30.19. As you see, Dan Spencer received 2,600 votes, which was 30.46%. Yes, this shows every vote is important. 23 vote difference. It's very important that every vote is counted accurately. And then Clint Presley, 3,330 votes, which was 39.01. Therefore, since no one received 50% plus one, there's now going to be a second runoff between the top two, which is going to be Dan Spencer and Clint Presley. We all understand? And go ahead. You want to do the runoff? Okay, we're going into the runoff now. So, at this time, the count's changed, but now there's 10,917 people who have registered as messengers. We're going to ballot number 9. Ballot number 9. Make sure it's green. And we know the spiel. You need to be in the hall if you are voting by proxy is now allowed. But again, it's ballot number 9. We're only taking the top 2 candidates. I'm doing in order as the speeches was given. So therefore, Dan Spencer, if you wish to vote for Dan Spencer, put X on the square number 1. For vote for Dan Spencer, put an X on square number 1. If you wish to vote for Clint Presley, put an X on square number 3. Again, it's ballot number 9, as it shows on the screen. For Dan, it's square number 1, put an X, and Clint, square number 3, please put an X. Once you're ready, please pass them to your right, face down. And the ushers will be receiving those. Thank you.
Well, now's that time. If you've got a ballot that's not been collected, would you please wave that in the air so the tellers could find you? Anybody with a ballot that's not been cast? I see one over there. I see one over on this side of, yes. Anyone else? Still collecting ballots? Are there any remaining ballots to be cast? Seeing none, we'll declare that the polling is closed. Polling is closed. So we have two other items of business in the 10 minutes we have remaining. The second item of business is the motion made by Tom Askell to abolish the ERLC as presented on the screen. Where are you, Tom? Chair wants to recognize you to speak. Please punch the urgent request button on your mob box. Microphone 3A. Is that you, Tom?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Please go ahead and state your name and your church for the record, and then, if you would, please speak to your motion.
Tom Askell, Grace Baptist Church, Cape Coral, Florida. Bylaw 25 is called, in part, abolishing entities. It instructs messengers how to do this by stating, quote, "No entity shall be discontinued without a majority vote at 2 successive annual sessions of the convention." Obviously, this bylaw anticipates that there may be times when the SBC entities will need to be discontinued. Such a time has come. For the last 8 years, the ERLC has become increasingly distant from the values and concerns of the churches that finance it. I, along with countless other pastors, have voiced our concerns to executive trustees over positions, actions, and inactions of the ERLC. On August 1, 2018, I was appalled when the ERLC produced and released a professional video arguing that animal rights is a pro-life issue. Though the video was finally taken down, I'm left to wonder, why was cooperative program money ever used to produce such a video? Many of us have pled with the ERLC to work for legislation that grants preborn children equal protection under the law, but they refuse to do so. In 2021, messengers voted a resolution that says, quote, "As Southern Baptists, we will engage with God's help in establishing equal justice and protection for the preborn according to the authority of God's word, as well as local and federal laws." Yet 1 year later, the president of the ERLC issued an open letter to state lawmakers in which he and others stated that they represent, quote, "tens of millions of pro-life men, women, and children across the country." And they went on to say, "Let us be clear. We state unequivocally that we do not support any measures seeking to criminalize or punish women, and we stand firmly opposed to include such penalties in legislation." That letter killed the bill in Louisiana, which would have been the first law in the United States to completely outlaw abortion. It's time for us to call the ERLC to become accountable to the churches who pay for it. Bylaw 25 wisely does not allow for the discontinuation of any entity with just one vote. It takes 2 positive votes for 2 successive years. Adopting this motion today will not eliminate the ERLC today, but it will send a clear message that the churches of the SBC are deeply concerned about their mission drift. We're often told by our leaders that the local church is the headquarters of the SBC. It's time that the ERLC hears from headquarters. A positive vote will give them 1 full year to make a course correction. Please support this vote.
Thank you. Microphone 8A, can you please state your name, your church, and your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Brent Leatherwood. I am a messenger from Brentwood Baptist Church in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I am a deacon of that church, and that means I am called to serve.
Dr. Leatherwood,
also,
you're going to be able to continue to speak, but let me explain why, because everybody's watched me recognize you and ask what your point of order is. Actually, the urgent request button was pushed because under Article 12, he has a privileged place to be able to reply and respond to this motion. I'm sorry that I interrupted you to do that, but I just wanted to help everybody understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as I was saying, I view myself as a servant, and I bring that servant heart to the other role that I occupy, which is president of your Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. And we read in Proverbs that a gentle answer turns away wrath. That is certainly my prayer for what I'm about to respond to. I hope that my response comports to that. The history of this 100-year-old commission has always found it at the leading edge of issues, sometimes speaking for our churches, sometimes speaking with our churches. Examples such as civil rights, the sanctity of life, the protection of conscience, or responding to abuse in the church. Now, our brother likes to bring up an issue from a different era, well before I was president of this organization, back in 2018. Look, that's from a different time. That video was taken down nearly immediately because the organization realized it had made a mistake. And so none of us is perfect, but we did take that down, and we accepted responsibility for it. But in all that this organization strives to do, it strives to be faithful to Scripture, faithful to what the Lord calls us to do, faithful to serve our churches. And we are in a great hour of need in our culture and in our convention. Division and anger are plentiful. Voices are wanting to tear down with false assertions and half-truths that are everywhere. To eliminate an entity whose voice is needed now as much as ever would be the wrong move. No, this commission speaks truth with a capital T, and the grace that it also speaks with is exactly what is needed now. I would ask this body to reject this motion, send a signal that says the political tactics that are being used in this room at various times are not for us, just as we have continually done in this convention each and every time they have been attempted. Thank you, Mr. President.
Microphone 10A, please give your name, your church, and then you wish to speak against.
Yes, Mr. President, my name is Luke Holmes, messenger from Emmanuel Baptist in Duncan, Oklahoma. This question has been asked and answered. It's been posed at numerous annual meetings, and each time the answer has remained a resolute no. The messengers have consistently refused to take such drastic action, and I think we need to echo those decisions today. The work of the ERLC, and even before that, its predecessors, the Christian Life Commission, often sparks debate. From the 50s and 60s, when they were leaders in race relations and religious liberty, there were multiple similar motions like this decades ago, and each time they were decisively rejected. For decades, The messengers of the SBC have spoken clearly and affirmed the importance of this entity's mission. It's understandable that not everyone agrees with every action or stance. And disagreement is natural and healthy within a diverse body as ours, but we have established mechanisms for addressing these concerns: trustees, motions, public avenues of discourse and dialogue. These have been effective in facilitating course corrections when necessary in the past. But the proposal before us today is more drastic than these processes. The suggestion to abolish or defund from the floor is the equivalent of a nuclear option. It would leave damage all over the place. Think for a minute what this would mean. Abolishing the ERLC would directly impact numerous families, of course, but also significantly diminish our public voice in cultural and political arenas. When our nation is navigating pivotal issues, having a dedicated and experienced voice on these matters is important. A Southern Baptist Convention is one of the largest Protestant denominations in America, must maintain a presence in our nation's capital. And the ERLC plays a crucial role in this endeavor. We're privileged to live in a country where we can speak to the most pressing issues of our day, and the ERLC has done that time again. As we face a really crucial moment in the nation's history, it's imperative that we vote no on any motion to defund or abolish. Instead, encourage the ERLC to continue its vital work, speak to key areas of politics and culture, and when necessary, we need to use established processes to effect change. I say let's stand together, united in a commitment to uphold the voice and influence of the Southern Baptist Convention in shaping a just and moral society. Thank you.
Microphone 3A, please state your name, your church, and your point of order.
Tom Askell, Grace Baptist Church, Cape Coral, Florida. And Mr. President, I would like to suggest that Mr. Leatherwood was out of order in impugning my motives as being political and speaking with harshness and wrath. I did not do such. I did not question his motives. He brought up something that he called from ancient history in 2018, but I also referred to something that he did in 2022. And is there a statute of limitations on foolish decisions and actions that are taken with cooperative program money? I would like for the chair to rule him out of order.
So you do have a right to respond, which you've done. The point of order is not well taken. Okay. Microphone 7A, would you please state your name, your church, and your request?
Hi, my name is Kyle Hamby. I'm a messenger from Canaan Baptist Church from St. Louis, Missouri, and I move to call the question.
Okay. So, unfortunately, you can't do that with that button. However, the time for the consideration, because you have to wait in line with other people who want to make motions. You can't jump to the front of the line to do that. But the time for consideration of the question has expired. And so we're going to come to a vote anyway. And the question before you is on the motion to abolish the ERLC. As many of you as are in favor of the motion, would you please lift your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed, would you please lift your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. Those opposed have it, and the motion is lost. So we're out of time for the whole thing.
Praise the Lord. Here we go. The Committee on Order of Business would move to extend this awesome time of business by an extra 6 minutes.
So, as many as are in favor of extending the time, would you indicate by raising your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed, would you raise your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. Those in favor have it. The motion is adopted. The time is extended. Microphone 3A, would you state your name, your church, and your request?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Benjamin Cole, messenger from Prestonwood Church in Plano. Earlier, I voted to refer my motion that would increase the financial transparency regarding fundraising activities of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. I voted to refer. Is a motion to reconsider in order at any time whereby this messenger body could actually reconsider that matter now that we have not voted to abolish?
So here's what we're going to do. We have a scheduled item of business that we need to take at this time. Your motion is in order. We will allow you to make it. We will see if there's a second. Okay, very good. We're going to defer that at this time in favor of the scheduled item of business. Thank you. So we're also going to pause for a moment because how on earth did the tellers do this? We have results already for the election of first vice president, not. We have the election for the successor to Jay Adkins, is what we have. So.
Yes, this is for the office of the first vice president. At the time of that ballot, there was 10,908 messengers. As actually casting ballots, we had 5,898 who cast ballots for this, for the office of the first vice president. Brad Graves received 4,072 votes, which represented 69.04. Michael Clary received 1,812 votes, which was 30.72%, as you see on the screen. Again, Brad received over 4,000 votes. Michael received 1,812. And there was 14 disallowed.
And as part of these, in recognition of these results, Brad Graves is elected as first vice president of the Southern Baptist Convention. So our third item of business is the motion made by Joel Breidenbaugh, as presented on the screen. And Joel, if you're prepared to speak to your motion, we need you to press that urgent request button on the mob box. Is Joel here? Microphone 8A, is that you, Joel?
Yes, it is, Mr. President. Good morning.
Please state your name, your church, and then, if you would, speak to your motion.
Joel Breidenbaugh, messenger of Gospel-Centered Church in Apopka, Florida. So the reason I made my motion is that this entity matters to SBC missions. There's a number of things we don't know, but we do know that the SBC must speak clearly to the courts about our polity, lest we damage ourselves. It's enormously dangerous for one SBC entity to make claims in the courts that impact the entire SBC, all its entities, its mission gifts, ministry partners in local churches, associations, and state conventions. What has actually happened at the Fifth Circuit is legal precedent for other current and future lawsuits that relate to Baptist bodies and ministers. You may remember that in 2019, the ERLC made false statements to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals by saying the SBC was a hierarchy and the SBC was the umbrella organization over all other Baptist organizations and churches. NAM has made its own troubling statements, including that a state executive director was actually an employee of an SBC entity. Furthermore, NAM wrote in their defense to the Federal District Court of North Mississippi in November 2018 and December 2022 that NAM had the legal right to interfere to protect its own economic and other interests. They argued that NAM is protected by an absolute privilege with regard to any statements it may have made regarding plaintiffs. NAM said they were protected by an absolute privilege and or a qualified privilege with respect to all decisions it made and or actions it took, which may have related to other dismissals. Dr. Barry Hankins, Baptist historian, professor, and expert witness, says in his expert report, if NAM's interpretation of the First Amendment prevailed, every Baptist entity that cooperates in any way with the SBC will be put at risk. Furthermore, he said, it is my opinion, as a scholar of church-state relations in the U.S., that NAM's First Amendment defense in this case, if accepted by courts, would actually undermine religious liberty rather than safeguard it. We've had over 230 Baptist leaders sign a letter claiming there's an existential threat in the SBC, and as we stood watching, the autonomy of Baptist churches, organizations, and ministers have been hijacked by the North American Mission Board. Thank you.
Microphone 1A, please state your name and your church, and we recognize you to speak against the motion.
Thanks, Mr. President. My name is Josh Revis. I'm a messenger from North Jacksonville Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Just wanted to say this motion is both unnecessary and unproductive. I've been a trustee at NAM since 2022. Motion is unnecessary because any Southern Baptist may already review every word of NAM's public legal filings and oral arguments, and NAM would welcome that. It's also unproductive. These task forces have a twofold cost. They cost regular Southern Baptists who get appointed their uncompensated time away from other things. It also costs CP dollars to fund them. And this matter that's at the center of this motion is pending currently. It's not complete. And so any study would be premature at this stage, and its findings would be incomplete. And I don't have any personal swag to give anybody, but I would like to give back 2 minutes and 8 seconds to the people. Thank you.
Microphone 5A, would you state your name and your church and make your argument, please?
Jonathan Jarbo, messenger from Pathway Church in Redlands, California. I also serve as a trustee as NAM, and I just want to echo what Josh said and believe this motion is unproductive and will use cooperative program resources. The issue is still pending, and so a review at this point would be incomplete at best, and so I oppose the motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. The question before you is on the motion by Joel Breidenbaugh, as displayed on the screen. So as many as are in favor of the motion, would you please lift your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed, would you please lift your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. Those opposed have it, and the motion is lost. At this time, we will pass the gavel to Second Vice President, Kason Branch.
Thank you, Mr. President.